What up? Welcome back to Content is Profit. I have a question for you. What if I told you that there's only 6 things that you need to keep in mind, only 6, to make any type of content work for you and your business? Sounds awesome. All right. So that's basically what we did in the video that you were about to watch or the show that you're about to listen. This is the first video that people that come into Business Creator Club, businesscreator.club, if you want to be a part of it, watch before they can watch any other the material, the monetization playbooks, and different things like that. It sets the frame, and this is a couple of proven frameworks that we worked with specifically and that we created to train our team and to train the teams that we deploy in our media company. And I'm excited to share it with you. It's very quick. It's not meant to go in deep, but I think it's going to give you a good frame of reference to tackle your own content and see what lever, my English is not very good looking today, can you pull today to be able to move the needle forward. Like I said, we go over these topics every Thursday in Business Creator Club, businesscreator.club. So come join us there and enjoy the episode. Hey, and welcome to Business Creator Club. First of all, I am extremely thankful that you are here, and I'm so excited to share some time with you and share a couple of the frameworks that helped us move the needle forward in many aspects of our business. So keep in mind, this video is going to be a very, very, very quick orientation on the main 2 frameworks that we dive deep, and it's going to help you understand the margins and the containers of the rest of the content. So anything that we put here in Business Creator Club, at least as it stands right now, is going to fall into one of these buckets. And if you know the context and you familiarize yourself with the levers, you're going to understand kind of where to apply it in your business, because every single business is different. So you might be pulling a lever that somebody else doesn't need to pull. So this is the very first video that you should be watching. So thank you for being here. Like I mentioned, this is a presentation that we've done over the last couple of years in multiple stages. And we brought it into the studio with our current customers in there. We brought it with the agency. So it has been stress tested for a couple of years. And we yet have to find, one case study that, doesn't fit this. And I think it's going to help us move the needle forward for your business as well. So the first thing that I really want to talk about is going to be, if my computer allows me to do this, here we go, bam, is the publishing pyramid. And right below, you're going to find an in-depth video where me and Fonzie kind of go over each one of these. And there's a workbook attached that you can also find in resources where you can fill it out. And if you want to jump on a Q&A and kind of work through this together, perfect. Let's go ahead and do it. But the very first thing that we got to understand with the publishing pyramid is that at the very top, you're going to see the resources that you have. These are, maybe your employees, your team, yourself, if you are, pulling content all on your own. How much time do you have? How much team members do you have? Right below that, each one of those resources is going to have a capacity. If you have a video editor, is this a full-time video editor or is it a part-time video editor, right? How many hours do you have to edit a show? When we first started Content is Profit, we have barely like 30 minutes to record and then pull the content out. So that's why we decided to go live. More on that in just a little bit, right? Right below the capacity is like, how consistent can we be? Can we commit to a consistency of twice a week, of once a week? That's going to be based on your own capacity, like how much time do you have to actually create and publish the content, right? And that very top also based on your resources. How do we align all those? And then at the very bottom, everything kind of lays on your messaging. Like, what do you have to say? Like, how can you add value to your audience? If we are crystal clear on this, and this is obviously a work in progress, then we can execute from the bottom up. So this is a very first framework that we share with every single one in the studio when they want to launch the podcast or when they want to produce something. We can explore and ask questions to understand their ecosystem and see what we're working on. So like I said, training right below, you're going to see a full detailed video walking through each one of these and the workbook where you can dial in your own. So we're going to be the 6 levers that we'll be pulling today. And like I said, these are going to become the containers of all the content that we're going to put in. So every piece of content that we put out is going to be related to one of these. and you can apply that tactic, you can apply that specific framework to each of the levers in your own personal process. That's what we've seen. The people that have been very successful in content in general with either case studies and the people that we've helped, they're able to apply a little thing like every single week and how can we get better in this breakdown. We can also assign resources based on that. So here they are unveiled. The number one is obviously, what to say. That goes with the messaging WTS, your research, your ideation process. What are the topics that we're talking about? What are the headlines? What are the thumbnail titles? What are the things that we want to share with the world? That's number one. We got to figure out, what are we actually saying? Number two is your creation process. It's like, are you creating in a studio, or you're creating your home office like I'm doing today, right? Do you have a set that allows you to kind of change from screen, to my camera, or you have just your phone where you record your content from? Do you actually go to a studio like Studio Podcast Suites? Shout out. That's your creation process. How do you set it up? And by the way, there's no right answer. It's like I said, training right below, coming soon if you haven't seen it, but we're going to go deep in one of these. We're just trying to understand general picture. Number three is going to be your production aspect. We're going to give a couple examples here, but it's like from your raw content that you record, for example, from this recording, what does that turn into? Is that turn into a podcast episode, into a YouTube video, into a social media clip? From the content that you record on your phone, where's that go? Like, how do we edit that in our phone? How do we edit that in our machines? Right? That's the production process, right? That production needs to be distributed. That's the next stage, distribution. Where do we put this content out? Do we put it on, your social media accounts? Does it publish in like every single podcast index app that is out there? Do we put it on YouTube? Do you put it on Spotify? Where are we plugging our content? Organically, paid, newsletters, written content, depends on what the content is. There has to be a distribution channel. You'll be very surprised. We have a couple of examples. There's one podcast that ended up going into a prison cell podcast network, and they had massive numbers because it was one of like the 5 approved podcasts for these prisons. So every single week, these guys, that's all they could listen. Obviously, his numbers are going to be very high on that end of the spectrum. But did it translate for business? Not too much. But anyways, what are the distribution channels that we can plug our content in so we can be in front of our desired audience? Now, the next one here is going to be monetization. Obviously, we ideate, we create, we produce, and we distribute so we can, in this case, if you're in Business Creator Club, feed our business, right? How do we bring in new leads? How do we bring in new customers? So on this side is how we connect that content to the profit. The name of the show, shout out, content is profit. That's what we've been trying to uncover over 600 episodes on how to get to that point. And something fascinating happened where it's like we've actually seen so many case studies of a lot of formats and a lot of frameworks and a lot of flows that actually work, but they all fall within the 6 levers and they pull them at a different level. But everything works if we know what pieces or what levers we're pulling. So what can you expect on monetization here? We're going to bring some of those experts back that we maybe had on Content is Profit, and we're going to have them explain their frameworks and their tactics and their playbooks. It matters of fact, you might already have some of them right below as we're going to bring them monthly or bi-weekly. We'll see. Let us know what you want. But in our specific case, we are also sharing our specific framework on how we were able to get to our first 6 figures with our podcast Content is Profit, and later on, almost at the time of this recording, getting to those 7 figures. So super excited to kind of share that with you. And not only ourselves, we're not the only system that works. There's many other people that are willing to share and put a monetization playbook here in Business Creator Club. So that's where that goes. That means funnels. That means, sales letter. That means phone call. Like, how do we actually monetize? Super cool. And then the last one, which is personally my favorite, but not for a lot of people, is operations right here. It's like, how do we actually run all of this? As I'm recording this, I had a conversation with ChatGPT yesterday, and it was all about how do we streamline a process that we already use a lot of like human force and human resources for the ideation, the creation process. Obviously, this is me. We're big fans of us being the creators, right? production? How do we actually speed up the production? Is there a tool that can help us do a rough cut ahead of time and save a ton of time, right? How do we distribute? How do we deploy that content? So operation is like, okay, what's the back end of that? How do we manage this? How do we manage these people? Is there a Notion database? Is there a Monday database? Is it a spreadsheet, right? Is it a notes in our phone? How do we actually do this? So at some level, you're probably going to be looking at any of this. And right now, if you go through your content creation process, you can probably identify where are you executing on these really well and maybe where there's a gap. Even though if you sit down in your, living room about to text something, these are the phases that we go through mentally to be able to do that, right? So rules of the game, real quick, right, is you have 3 key elements, which is the creator, which is you, right? You are the creator. There's an audience out there that needs to hear your message. And then there's friction. These are like the 3 elements, or at least the 3 main elements that we look at when we go into this, that we have to be aware. This works for your own content, and this also works for collaborate content. So whenever you're doing an interview, for example, or you're collaborating for YouTube, or collaborating for a newsletter, for a blog, right? These works for both of them. So I'm just going to go real quick. I think I explained most of them at the time, but for the presentation and for Business Creator Club, we're mostly going to be talking with these 4 initially. The what to say, the creation, production, and distribution, and the monetization. We're going to be plugging in different frameworks that we've seen, many playbooks that we've seen, not only on books, but from the guests that we've come in Content is Profit, and proven strategies and flows that can help you, trigger something and modify something based on your business. And then operations, obviously, you're going to have the support in there. So the goal is like you as a creator, you want to increase your audience. That's why it's green, right? You want to increase the eyeballs on your content. That includes the people you're collaborating with, especially for Pipeline Platform right below. You're going to see that, the person that you're having conversations with. And that also includes the fact that we're going to try to reduce the friction. We want to make sure that we go fast, that there is nothing stopping that. If you're watching the video, you see an F1 car here, nothing stopping your content machine. We're going to see all those elements depicted right below. And if you have any questions, please jump in every single Thursday at this time, or if you go to the events tab, you're going to see the open office hour sessions that we're there. If you want to reach out personally to me, please do so. Here's my email. You can go to luisa@bizros.co, or you can just message me here on Business Creator Club. I'm happy to help you and support you and point you in the right direction. If it's if we are not the right people to do it, we're going to point you to the right person to do it. But hopefully this concludes the quick orientation video, and you can now go tackle the content that we have right below. If you have any requests, put it on the general tab, or you can send us a DM. We're here for you. We're building this with you, and we want to bring all the resources and the topics that are relevant to you today. So with that, enjoy Business Creator Club, and I'm so excited to have you here with us. Take care.